Christina never imagined that ordinary language courses would turn her entire life upside down. Just yesterday, she was the perfect wife, living in a world of routine and calm. But one chance meeting, one innocent touch, and her world was shattered. Now Christina is walking a tightrope. Secret kisses with a young teacher, her husband's suspicious gaze, mysterious messages from a stranger, and the constant feeling that her happiness is about to be exposed. What choice will she make when all secrets come to light? And is she ready to face the consequences of her passion? But before we begin, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what city you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I'm really curious to see who's joined us today. Now, get comfortable. We're starting. Christina Evans had always been the kind of woman who noticed the little details in life. She was in her early 30s, with a soft, inviting figure that reflected years of taking care of herself, but not obsessing over the gym. She was neither tall nor short. Her body naturally graceful, her skin smooth and fair, and her long light brown hair always shining, whether left flowing or tied up for work. She had deep blue eyes, a gently rounded face, and a kind smile that made strangers feel welcome. On this warm spring evening, Christina chose a gentle pastel dress for her first language class. Soft blue, flowing to her knees, hugging her figure but never too tight. Under the dress, she wore a delicate white lace bra, matching panties, and just a hint of perfume on her neck and wrists. Her breasts were perfectly shaped, not large, fitting comfortably in her hand, a modest B-cup. Her waist was slim, her hips feminine and smooth, and her bottom round, firm from years of dancing in her youth. She looked in the mirror and smiled, hoping she would feel confident enough for this new adventure. Her husband Michael wished her good luck as she left their apartment, his attention already back on the laptop and the stack of files waiting for him. They had been married for 6 years, building a steady, reliable life together, comfortable but not especially passionate. Christina wondered if he would notice her new earrings or the careful way she had styled her hair. As she walked down the hall, her heels tapping quietly, she felt a nervous excitement she had not felt in years. The language school was bright and modern, with posters of cities from around the world and cheerful plants in every corner. The administrator, a kind woman in her 50s named Margaret, welcomed Christina and led her to the classroom. The other students were already arriving, a lively group of adults from all walks of life. There was Sarah, a friendly nurse with long dark hair and a warm laugh. Jessica, a graphic designer in stylish jeans and a red sweater. And a quiet older man named Daniel. Then the teacher entered. Andrew Miller looked nothing like the old, boring instructors Christina had expected. He was in his mid-30s, tall and athletic, with bright blue eyes and short, sandy blonde hair. He wore a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, dark blue trousers, and a simple watch. His jaw was strong, his smile easy and confident. When he introduced himself, his voice was deep and calm, every word pronounced with care and a touch of playfulness. "Welcome, everyone," Andrew said, looking around the room. When his gaze landed on Christina, she felt a flutter in her stomach, as if he was seeing her in a way no one had for years. The first lesson was full of laughter and friendly mistakes. Andrew was patient and charming, helping everyone relax. He told stories about his travels, making the class feel like a window into a bigger, more exciting world. Christina found herself laughing at his jokes, enjoying the gentle encouragement he gave when she stumbled over a new word. She noticed the way he looked at her, never staring, but always coming back, as if drawn by something unspoken. After class, Sarah and Jessica invited Christina for coffee, and the three women exchanged first impressions of the teacher. "He is definitely not what I expected," Sarah whispered with a grin, her dark eyes sparkling. "He is so handsome. I hope my accent gets better quickly." Jessica agreed, teasing Christina about how Andrew seemed to ask her more questions than anyone else. Christina felt her cheeks warm, unsure if she wanted her attraction to be noticed. She tried to brush it off, but as she walked home in the soft evening air, her mind kept returning to Andrew. His eyes, his hands, the way his shirt fit across his chest. She felt both excited and guilty, wondering why these new feelings were so strong, why they made her heart race in a way Michael never did anymore. That night, she lay in bed, her husband already asleep beside her. She replayed moments from class in her mind. Andrew's friendly smile, his easy confidence, the gentle encouragement in his voice. She imagined, just for a moment, what it would be like if he reached out to take her hand, his thumb brushing over her skin. In her mind, the touch grew bolder, a fingertip tracing the inside of her wrist, a soft, lingering caress along her arm. Her breath caught as she pictured him leaning closer, his lips almost brushing hers. The thought made her shiver with a mix of anticipation and embarrassment. The next day, Christina received a message from the language school. Andrew had scheduled an optional practice session after the next class, offering extra help for those who wanted to improve. Christina smiled, her heart beating a little faster. She replied that she would be there. As the days passed, Christina's excitement only grew. She chose her outfits with more care, flowing skirts, fitted blouses, sometimes a touch of lace beneath her clothes, always feeling more alive than she had in years. Andrew seemed to notice, offering her gentle compliments on her pronunciation and her progress. Sarah and Jessica teased her good-naturedly, but Christina could not hide her happiness. She felt seen, desired, appreciated. Her husband Michael remained distant, buried in work, never questioning why she came home later or why she smiled more. Christina sometimes wished he would ask, but she was grateful for the space to explore this new part of herself. The first private practice session was small. Just Christina, Daniel, and Jessica. Andrew was even more relaxed in this setting, joking with them and helping them overcome their nerves. After Daniel and Jessica left, Andrew asked Christina if she wanted to stay a little longer and practice her speaking. Christina hesitated, her heart pounding, but agreed. They talked about travel, about dreams and ambitions, about the little things that made life beautiful. Christina felt herself opening up, sharing things she had not said aloud in years. Andrew listened, his eyes kind and attentive. When their hands brushed while reaching for the same pen, Christina felt a spark, a warm, electric tingle that lingered long after their hands parted. As she left the school that night, Christina realized she was smiling to herself, her cheeks glowing. She knew something was changing. Something exciting and dangerous was beginning. She was not sure where it would lead, but she could not help wanting more. The weeks passed, and Christina soon became one of the most engaged students in Andrew's class. Every lesson brought new words, playful jokes, and reasons for laughter. Sarah, ever energetic, started to ask Christina for advice, and Jessica became her confidant, always ready with a sly grin and a whispered comment about Andrew's good looks. Christina was glad for their company, but she felt an excitement that belonged only to her, a secret growing quietly, blooming inside her like a spring flower. Christina's appearance began to reflect her new mood. She let her hair down more often, its light brown waves catching the light. She chose soft, flowing blouses in pastel colors, sometimes sheer enough to hint at the lace bras she favored lately. Pale pinks, soft lavenders, gentle creams. Her skirts grew shorter, just above the knee, flattering her long toned legs. She wore matching underwear, always with delicate details, lace trims, satin bows, tiny ribbons. There was pride in her step, a gentle sway in her walk. Her figure seemed even more graceful. Slim waist, soft hips, a round, enticing bottom that Andrew could not help but notice. Andrew, too, seemed changed. He wore crisp shirts, sometimes light blue or pale grey, fitted perfectly to his athletic build. When he rolled up his sleeves, Christina would catch herself studying his forearms, admiring the subtle strength in his movements. His hair was always neatly styled, his scent clean and faintly spicy. He greeted each student by name, but his eyes always lingered a little longer on Christina, as if searching for something only she could offer. One evening, after a lively lesson full of laughter and teasing, Andrew announced that he would stay late for anyone needing extra practice. Most students left, eager to get home, but Christina lingered, gathering her books slowly. Jessica winked at her on the way out, her dark hair bouncing as she whispered, "Do not stay out too late." Christina blushed, laughing, but inside her heart was beating fast. Andrew closed the classroom door behind the last student and turned to Christina. "You have made such progress," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Would you like to work on conversation? I think you are ready for something more challenging." Christina nodded, suddenly aware of the silence that filled the room now that they were alone. They sat side by side, their chairs closer than necessary. They began to practice, switching from English to Spanish and back again, sometimes stumbling, sometimes laughing, sometimes pausing to share a story from their lives. Each time their eyes met, the air seemed to grow warmer as the sun set outside, painting the walls gold and pink. Andrew asked, "Do you ever feel like life is passing you by?" Christina hesitated, then admitted, "Sometimes. Lately, I feel as if I have woken up after a long sleep." Andrew smiled, his gaze tender. "You are not alone. Sometimes all it takes is a new language, a new way to see the world." He brushed a stray strand of hair from her face. The gesture was casual, but Christina felt as if she had been touched by electricity. They stood together at the window, looking out at the quiet street below. Christina's reflection glowed in the glass. Her blush-colored blouse, the gentle curve of her waist, her fitted skirt hugging her hips, the faint outline of her lace bra visible beneath the soft fabric. She saw Andrew watching her, his expression open and honest. Suddenly, the space between them seemed to vanish. Andrew reached for her hand, his fingers warm and strong. Christina let him, her heart fluttering in her chest. He stepped closer, his breath soft against her cheek. "May I?" he whispered. She nodded, unable to find her voice. Their lips met in a gentle, searching kiss, soft at first, then deeper. Christina melted into him, her hands resting on his chest. She felt the heat rising inside her, a mix of nerves and longing. Andrew's hands slid around her waist, pulling her closer, their bodies pressed together. Through the thin fabric of her blouse and skirt, Christina felt every line of his body, every heartbeat. His touch moved along her back, slow and respectful, never crossing the line, but making her feel desired in a way she had almost forgotten. They kissed for a long moment, losing themselves in the warmth and quiet. Andrew's fingers brushed the nape of her neck, sending shivers down her spine. When they finally parted, Christina was breathless, her lips tingling, her cheeks flushed. "I'm sorry," Andrew murmured, searching her eyes. "I do not want to make things complicated." Christina smiled, her confidence stronger than ever. "You have not. I want this too." They left together, stepping into the cool evening air. Christina walked home in a daze, her mind replaying the kiss again and again. At home, Michael was waiting, distracted as usual. He barely glanced up from his phone as she walked in. Christina felt a pang of guilt, but it faded quickly, replaced by excitement and something new, hope. The next day at work, Christina caught herself daydreaming, her mind drifting back to the classroom. She remembered the heat of Andrew's hands, the taste of his kiss. She smiled for no reason, her co-workers teasing her about her good mood. Sarah sent her a text message. "What happened last night? You look like you are in love." Christina replied with a string of smiling emojis, her secret safe for now. At the next class, Andrew and Christina behaved as if nothing had happened. But the energy between them had changed. Their conversations were full of hidden meaning, their eyes meeting over the heads of the other students. Christina wore a lavender blouse tucked into a white skirt, her favorite pale pink lingerie beneath. Andrew complimented her on her pronunciation, his eyes shining with something unspoken. Jessica, ever observant, leaned over during break and whispered, "You two are so obvious, you know." Christina only smiled, her cheeks warm. Sarah, always supportive, took Christina aside after class. "He likes you," she said simply. "You should be careful. People notice things." Christina nodded, promising to be discreet. Still, the temptation was too strong. The next evening, Andrew invited Christina to stay after class again. This time, the room was dim, lit only by the fading sun. Andrew leaned against his desk, looking at her with an intensity she could not resist. "I cannot stop thinking about you," he said quietly. "You are different from anyone I have met." Christina stepped closer, her breath quickening. "You make me feel alive again," she whispered. They came together once more, their embrace slower but more urgent. Andrew kissed her deeply, his hands gentle as he traced the line of her back, then her waist, then the soft curve of her hips. Christina trembled with anticipation, her body pressing into his. She felt his hands slip beneath her blouse, caressing her bare skin, careful and respectful, but undeniably passionate. He kissed her neck, her shoulder, each touch sending waves of pleasure through her. Their clothes remained mostly in place, but the intimacy was real and overwhelming. Christina's hands moved beneath Andrew's shirt, feeling the warmth and firmness of his chest. For a moment, nothing else existed but the two of them, their breath, their hearts, their longing. When it ended, they stood in silence, holding each other, neither wanting to let go. Christina knew she was crossing a line, but she did not want to turn back. The next morning, everything felt brighter. Christina chose her dress with care, a soft cream sundress, matching lingerie, her hair brushed to a shine. She felt beautiful, alive and wanted. At home, Michael barely noticed her change. He was polite, even loving, but distant, his mind always somewhere else. Christina felt a twinge of sadness but did not let it linger. She had discovered something precious, a secret joy that no one could take away. Rumors began to swirl among the students. Sarah asked more questions, and Jessica watched Andrew and Christina with a knowing smile. Christina laughed it off, pretending innocence. But inside she felt the tension building. She knew she had to be careful. But the thrill of their secret was impossible to resist. Every lesson became a dance, a glance, a brush of fingers, a hidden smile. Christina lived for these moments, each one drawing her deeper into Andrew's world. She did not know where it would end, but she knew she could not stop now. By the middle of May, Christina felt as if she was living in two worlds. In one, she was still the diligent wife, returning home each evening to Michael's distracted company, discussing bills, groceries, and weekend plans that rarely came to fruition. In the other, she was someone entirely different, a woman awake with possibility, heart racing at each new message from Andrew, eager for every lesson, every after-class moment that promised stolen intimacy. At work, Christina's friends started to notice the change in her. "You look amazing," her colleague Amanda remarked one morning, eyeing the pale blue dress that accentuated Christina's waist and graceful figure. "New perfume, new lipstick." Christina only smiled, the answer flickering in her eyes. Andrew's messages became more frequent, often arriving late at night. He would send her little jokes in Spanish, ask about her day, and sometimes share memories of his own travels. Christina responded eagerly, sending selfies with playful captions, sometimes in her cozy pajamas, other times dressed up before class. A fitted cream sweater, a light pink skirt that complemented her toned legs, or a silky navy blouse that caught the light and showed the gentle slope of her collarbones. Their relationship, while still a secret, was developing a rhythm. Christina started to arrange her days so that she and Andrew could cross paths away from prying eyes. They met for coffee at small, quiet cafes, always choosing seats in the corner. Their conversations a blend of flirtation, learning, and something more serious that neither dared to name. Andrew often wore casual, yet elegant clothing, soft grey sweaters, crisp dark jeans, or a tailored jacket that brought out the blue in his eyes. One Saturday morning, Christina and Andrew decided to meet at a cafe not far from the language school. Christina wore fitted pale blue jeans, a delicate white blouse tucked in at the waist, and beneath a matching white lace bra and panties set. Her hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She looked fresh, beautiful, and a little nervous as she walked in and spotted Andrew already waiting, sipping coffee and reading a novel. Their conversation was warm and familiar, laughter flowing easily. For the first time, Andrew reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand, holding it a moment longer than necessary. "You are the brightest part of my week, Christina," he said quietly. She felt her cheeks flush, heart fluttering. "You make me feel special," she replied softly. After their coffee, they walked together down a quiet side street, sunlight spilling between the leaves above. Without speaking, they slipped into a small park, empty except for the chirping of birds. Andrew pulled Christina close, his arms circling her waist, their bodies fitting together as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She looked up at him, saw the gentleness in his eyes, and let herself surrender to the moment. Their lips met, first tentative, then hungry for more. Christina's hands slid up Andrew's back, feeling the warmth of his body through his shirt. Andrew's fingers traced the curve of her hips, then higher, resting just below the edge of her blouse. They pressed together, heartbeats racing, breath mingling. Andrew kissed her neck, his lips sending shivers down her spine, then returned to her lips, slower now, each movement full of meaning. For several minutes, the world fell away, leaving only the two of them and the dizzying rush of their secret connection. Suddenly, a voice called out behind them, loud, familiar, and entirely out of place. "Christina, is that you?" They broke apart instantly. Christina's heart dropped as she turned and saw her husband Michael standing at the park's entrance. He wore his usual work attire, black slacks, pale blue dress shirt, his tie slightly askew as if he had just left an important meeting. His eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. His wife, flushed and breathless, standing far too close to a man he had never met. "Michael!" Christina tried to smile, hoping her voice would not betray her. "What are you doing here?" Michael approached slowly, his expression unreadable. "I had a client meeting nearby. I thought I would get some air before heading home." He glanced at Andrew, then back at Christina. "And you? I did not know you were out this way." Andrew, always composed, stepped forward and offered his hand. "Andrew Miller. I am Christina's language instructor. We were just discussing a few study topics after class." Michael shook his hand, his grip firm. He looked at Christina, his eyes searching her face for answers she could not give. "Well, it is nice to meet you," he said, voice tight. "Christina, we should get going. I promised your mother I would stop by before dinner." Caught between Andrew and Michael, Christina felt panic rise inside her. She nodded quickly, trying to hide her trembling hands. "Of course. I will see you at the next class, Andrew." As Michael led her away, Christina glanced back at Andrew, who gave her a reassuring smile. She tried to steady her breathing, but her mind spun with fear and regret. Had Michael seen too much? Had she ruined everything? That evening at home, Michael was unusually quiet, watching Christina as she prepared dinner. "You seemed close with your teacher," he'd said finally. Christina forced a laugh. "We have been working a lot together. He is very dedicated. That is all." Michael nodded, but the suspicion did not leave his eyes. For the first time, Christina felt a wall rising between them, a wall she herself had built. The next few days were tense. Christina avoided Michael's questions, burying herself in work and the language course. She confided in Jessica, who listened without judgment. "Do you love him?" Jessica asked gently one afternoon as they shared coffee. Christina hesitated. "I do not know, I just feel alive with him. I feel seen." Jessica squeezed her hand. "Be careful. Secrets have a way of coming out." When Christina arrived at the next class, the atmosphere was charged. Andrew looked at her with concern and longing. Sarah watched the two of them with growing curiosity. Even Daniel, the quietest student, seemed to sense that something was different. After class, Andrew found Christina in the hallways. "Are you all right?" She nodded, trying to smile. "Michael is suspicious. I'm not sure what to do." Andrew brushed her cheek with his fingertips, his touch sending warmth through her. "We will be careful. I do not want to cause you pain." That night, after everyone had left, Christina and Andrew found themselves alone in the empty classroom. The tension between them was unbearable. A mix of fear and desire. Without a word, Christina stepped into Andrew's arms, seeking comfort in his embrace. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, then her lips, softly at first, then deeper. Christina's hands slid beneath his shirt, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Andrew's hands cupped her face, then drifted down, tracing the curve of her waist and hips. They stood pressed together, the heat building between them, but this time there was a note of desperation, a need to hold on to something real in the face of uncertainty. Andrew kissed her neck, his lips gentle, his hands never moving past the limits of respect. Christina let herself feel it all, the danger, the thrill, the love that was slowly taking root. For a moment, nothing else mattered. But the spell was broken when Sarah returned for her forgotten jacket. She paused at the door, her eyes wide. Christina and Andrew sprang apart, their faces burning with shame. Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt," Sarah stammered, grabbing her jacket and fleeing the room. Andrew and Christina stood in silence, the shock settling between them. The secret was no longer theirs alone. After that night, rumors began to swirl in the group chat. Jessica texted Christina. Sarah said she saw something. Are you okay? Christina replied with a nervous smiley, unsure how to explain herself. The next day, Michael asked her directly, Is there something you want to tell me? Christina hesitated, her heart pounding. No, Michael, everything is fine. But deep down, she knew nothing would ever be the same. The air in Christina's world seemed to grow heavier with secrets. After that night, the energy at the language school changed in subtle ways. Rumors swirled among the students, whispers in the halls, glances exchanged during lessons, sudden silences when Christina entered a room. Jessica remained a loyal confidant, her humor a small comfort. Sarah, once warm and open, now kept her distance, her eyes often unreadable. One evening, Christina arrived a few minutes early for class, hoping to talk privately with Andrew. She wore a fitted dark green dress that hugged her waist and hips, a thin black belt accentuating her slender shape. Her hair was brushed smooth, falling over her shoulders in gentle waves, and underneath she wore deep emerald lingerie, delicate lace that made her feel daring. Her breasts, perfectly shaped and lifted by the bra, filled out the dress in a way that was both elegant and quietly alluring. Andrew waited at the front of the empty classroom, his posture tense. He wore a charcoal shirt, the sleeves rolled up to reveal strong tan forearms and slim black pants. The sight of him sent a familiar thrill through Christina. He greeted her with a quiet smile. You look beautiful tonight, he murmured, glancing at her dress. Thank you. I needed to feel a little braver, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Hotel. Before they could speak further, the door opened and in walked Lauren, a new student who had joined only the previous week. Lauren was striking, with long straight auburn hair and striking green eyes. She was tall and slim, her skin pale, her makeup flawless. Tonight, Lauren wore a sleek red blouse that revealed her toned midriff above fitted black trousers, the outline of a scarlet bra just visible through the fabric. Her movements were confident, even provocative, and her presence brought a chill to the room. Lauren smiled at Andrew with a familiarity that caught Christina off guard. Good evening, she said, her voice smooth. I hope I am not too early. Andrew's smile was polite, but there was a hint of tension. You are right on time, Lauren. Please, have a seat. As the class began to fill, Christina's mind raced. During the lesson, she caught Lauren watching her more than once, her gaze almost challenging. When Lauren answered questions, her voice was playful, often turning the conversation toward Andrew's time living abroad or his favorite places to visit, topics that drew laughter from the group, but set Christina's teeth on edge. After class, as students packed up their things, Lauren lingered by Andrew's desk. Are you free for a drink tonight? She asked casually, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. Andrew shook his head. Thank you, but I have plans. Lauren's eyes flickered to Christina. Of course. Maybe another time. As Lauren walked out, Christina turned to Andrew, her frustration bubbling over. Do you know her from before? She acts as if she knows you well. Andrew hesitated. We dated once, years ago. It ended amicably, but Lauren does not always respect boundaries. Christina felt a wave of jealousy, sharper than she expected. Is she here for the class or for you? Andrew took her hand, his thumb gently tracing her knuckles. I only want you. Please believe me. In the quiet after the class, Christina and Andrew found a private corner of the school. They pressed close, Andrew's arms circling her waist, pulling her in. He kissed her deeply, his hands slipping to her lower back. Christina's breath quickened as he traced her curves, his touch warm through the thin fabric of her dress. Their bodies pressed together. She felt the outline of his form, strong and sure, the desire between them unmistakable. She reached beneath his shirt, her fingers exploring his chest, feeling the beat of his heart. Andrew's hands moved to her hips, then higher, the tips of his fingers brushing the bare skin between the dress and her lingerie. They kissed as if nothing else existed, each touch more urgent, more searching, yet always gentle. Their intimacy was full of longing, knowing how much they risked, how little time they had. Andrew whispered her name, his lips grazing her neck, his hands pulling her closer until she melted against him. It was not enough, never enough, but it left them breathless, trembling with want. Christina left the building with a bittersweet ache, her mind clouded by pleasure and questions. That night, she could not sleep. She replayed Lauren's words, the way Andrew had answered, the glances exchanged. Her phone buzzed, a message from Jessica. Lauren is trouble. Be careful. The next day, Christina received another message, this time from an unknown number. The message was short but clear. I know what is happening. You should be careful who you trust. Her stomach tightened. She showed the message to Jessica at lunch. Jessica frowned, her dark eyes serious. Lauren probably. She likes drama. Do not let her get to you. But Christina could not shake the feeling of being watched. At class that evening, Lauren was waiting in the hallway, her arms folded, a knowing smile on her lips. She leaned close as Christina passed. Secrets are heavy, Christina. They can wear you down. Christina ignored her, keeping her focus on Andrew. Yet every time Lauren laughed or whispered to another student, Christina felt more anxious. When the lesson ended, Lauren pulled Andrew aside. I would like to talk, alone, she said, pointedly glancing at Christina. Andrew gave Christina an apologetic look. I will meet you outside. Standing in the cool air, Christina tried to steady her nerves. She watched through the window as Lauren leaned in, speaking quietly to Andrew. Her posture was intimate, almost possessive. Andrew's face was troubled, but he nodded and said something Christina could not hear. When he finally joined her outside, his expression was guarded. She wants another chance, he explained quietly. But I told her I am not interested. Christina took his hand. I trust you, she whispered, though doubt gnawed at her. Over the next week, Lauren's presence grew more unsettling. She left little notes on Andrew's desk, inside jokes from their past, invitations for drinks or weekend trips. She dropped hints to the other students about her history with Andrew, always with a sly smile. Sarah, once distant, now seemed drawn into Lauren's circle, laughing at her stories and ignoring Christina's attempts at conversation. One evening, after a particularly tense class, Lauren caught Christina alone in the hallway. "You think you know Andrew, but you do not," she said softly. "He is charming, but he has secrets too." Christina met Lauren's gaze, refusing to show fear. "We all have secrets." Lauren's smile widened. "Yes, but some are more dangerous than others." That night, Christina's dreams were restless. She saw images of Andrew and Lauren together, laughing, whispering, always just out of reach. She woke with her heart pounding, her sheets tangled around her. The next day, she found another message on her phone. "How much do you really know about him?" Christina decided to confront Andrew. After class, she waited until the others had gone. "Is there something you are not telling me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Andrew hesitated, then shook his head. "No, Christina, I told you everything. Lauren is trying to create trouble. She always liked attention, but it never meant anything real." Still, doubt lingered. Christina began to wonder if there were parts of Andrew's past she would never know. Did he truly love her? Or was she simply the next chapter in a pattern he had repeated before? That night, seeking comfort, Christina invited Andrew to her apartment. The moment he walked in, she felt the tension melt away. He kissed her with an urgency she had never felt, his hands cupping her face, his body pressed against hers. She led him to the couch, their kisses growing deeper, more passionate. Andrew's hand slid under her dress, exploring the curve of her back, tracing the lines of her lingerie. Christina shivered with anticipation, her fingers undoing the buttons of his shirt, revealing his bare skin beneath. They moved together slowly, discovering each other anew, their touches careful but hungry, their breaths mingling in the quiet apartment. When it was over, they held each other in the darkness, Christina's head resting on Andrew's chest, the sound of his heartbeat soothing her fears. If only for a moment. But as the night wore on and Andrew left, Christina could not escape the questions circling in her mind. Lauren's words echoed. "You think you know him, but you do not." As the final days of the course approached, Christina felt the sense of mystery growing. She began to watch Andrew more closely, searching for any sign that Lauren's warnings were true. She read old messages, replayed every conversation, every touch, every whispered promise. One evening, as Christina was leaving the classroom, Lauren approached her once more, her expression softer than before. "Just be careful, Christina," she said quietly. "Sometimes people are not who they seem." Christina walked away, her heart heavy with uncertainty. She wanted to trust Andrew, to believe in the love they were building. But the seeds of doubt had been planted. Would she ever truly know the whole story? The last week of the course arrived, and Christina felt as if every moment was balanced on the edge of a blade. Her secret with Andrew was no longer just a thrilling escape. It was something she could not imagine living without. But each day also brought a new wave of anxiety. A glance from Lauren, a subtle question from Sarah, a cool silence at home from Michael. One warm afternoon, Christina dressed with unusual care for the final lesson. She chose a soft peach blouse that draped gently over her shoulders and hinted at the outline of her cream lace bra, paired with a high-waisted ivory skirt that hugged her hips and accentuated her curves. Her hair, glowing in the sunlight, was styled in soft curls. She wanted to feel beautiful, strong, and ready for whatever was to come. Andrew, too, seemed different that evening. He wore a deep navy shirt open at the throat, sleeves rolled up to reveal his tanned forearms, and dark trousers that fit his athletic frame. His smile was there, but it seemed shadowed by worry. The room was alive with tension as students filed in for their final reviews and casual goodbyes. Lauren arrived late, dressed to impress in a fitted emerald dress that showed off her slender figure, with her long auburn hair cascading down her back. Her green eyes sparkled with something mischievous, and as she swept into the room, conversation died for a moment. The lesson passed in a blur. Students exchanged contact information, laughed about shared mistakes, and promised to keep in touch. Sarah hugged Christina, whispering, "You are glowing. I hope everything works out for you." Jessica gave her a sly wink and squeezed her hand. Even Daniel, the quietest in the group, smiled and wished her luck. But Christina's focus was on Andrew and Lauren, who had slipped into a heated conversation near the windows. Christina could not hear their words, but Lauren's posture was sharp, her gestures full of frustration. Andrew stood tall, his expression tense but firm. After class, as students drifted out, Lauren approached Christina. She spoke in a low voice, her gaze unwavering. "Do you really believe you know him? He told me the same things once, made the same promises. You are not special, Christina. You are just next." Christina bristled, summoning her courage. "You do not know what is between us. Maybe you never did." Lauren's smile was cool. "We will see." With a dramatic turn, she left the room, her heels echoing down the hall. Andrew appeared at Christina's side, his face troubled. "I'm sorry for all of this. I never wanted you to be dragged into old dramas." "Do you still have feelings for her?" Christina asked quietly. He shook his head. "No. That was another life. You are the one I want, Christina. I have never felt like this before." Before she could reply, a voice interrupted them. Michael stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. He had come early, hoping to surprise Christina and finally meet her teacher after weeks of evasion and suspicion. "I would like to speak to both of you," Michael said evenly. They moved to an empty classroom. Michael shut the door behind them, his posture calm but his eyes hard. He looked at Andrew, then at Christina. "I know something is going on," Michael said. "I have seen the messages. I know you have been meeting outside of class." Christina's heart pounded. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but Andrew spoke first. "It is true. We care about each other." Michael nodded slowly. "So, what now?" "Christina, you have to decide what you want. I deserve honesty, at least." The silence was heavy, filled with old wounds and new hope. Christina looked at Michael, remembering the years they had shared, the comfort, the routine, the friendship that had faded into habit. Then she turned to Andrew, who waited, uncertain but open. "I'm sorry, Michael," Christina said quietly. "I did not mean to hurt you. I did not go looking for this, but I cannot pretend anymore. I have changed. I need something more." Michael's face softened, a sadness in his eyes, but also relief. "Then we will find a way through this, for both of us. I do not want resentment to poison our lives." He left the room, closing the door behind him. Christina's eyes filled with tears, not of grief, but of release. Andrew stepped forward, taking her hands in his. In the quiet that followed, Christina and Andrew found each other, truly, openly, for the first time. Their embrace was gentle, their kisses slow and full of gratitude. Christina let herself fall into Andrew's arms, feeling the weight of guilt and secrecy finally lift. He stroked her hair, kissed her eyelids, then her lips. She let him unbutton her blouse, his hands trembling as he traced her bare shoulders and arms. Her body pressed into his, her breath soft against his ear. Andrew cupped her waist, his touch reverent, as if rediscovering every part of her. They made love in the hush of the empty classroom, their movements slow, tender, and charged with emotion. Christina's skin tingled beneath his hands, her heart aching with relief and longing. The sunlight slipped through the blinds, casting soft patterns on their entwined bodies. Every caress was a promise, every kiss an answer to the questions that had haunted her for weeks. Afterwards, they held each other, bodies still tangled together, breathing in the sweetness of a new beginning. Christina rested her head on Andrew's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. "Are you sure?" Andrew asked softly. Christina smiled. "For the first time in a long time, I am." In the following days, the aftermath was easier than Christina had feared. Michael and she talked honestly, sharing memories and regrets, but also a quiet sense of relief that the truth was finally out. They agreed to separate as friends, not enemies, and even shared a laugh about how life could take unexpected turns. Lauren, for her part, quietly withdrew from the group, her drama finished. Sarah and Jessica continued to support Christina, their friendship stronger for having survived the storm. Christina moved into a small apartment of her own, a space filled with sunlight and hope. Andrew helped her paint the walls, cook simple meals, and learn new words in Spanish every morning over coffee. Sometimes they would dance together in the kitchen, laughing, rediscovering the joy of being alive and fully seen. On weekends, Christina wore soft cotton dresses that fluttered around her knees, pale blue or lavender, and delicate lace lingerie that made her feel beautiful. Andrew admired her openly, his eyes full of affection. He loved to run his hands through her hair, to kiss her bare shoulders in the quiet hours before dawn. She stayed in touch with Michael, who found new passions of his own. Their friendship was different but real, built on honesty instead of duty. In the end, Christina did not regret the risks she had taken, nor the pain of letting go. She had learned that life could change at any moment. that love sometimes found you when you least expected it, and that happiness belonged to those who were brave enough to claim it. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Christina stood on her balcony, the warm breeze playing with the hem of her dress. Andrew slipped his arms around her waist from behind, pressing a kiss to her neck. She leaned into him, content, at peace. For the first time in years, the future felt wide open, a mystery she was no longer afraid to face.